What up, guys, and welcome to this episode of The Fishing Forecast. What's this? Oh, this is the kayak with the trolling motor version 2.0. We have here the exact same kayak as my last kayak, the Ascend FS12T. Actually, they got rid of the FS, but it's still the exact same kayak. Sorry, pardon me, why did I get rid of my last one? I didn't get rid of it, I broke it. Long story short, I stored it very poorly in the winter and it just cracked. I don't want to talk about it, thank you very much. But yes, if you're coming from the original trolling motor on my kayak video, stay tuned because this is way better of a version than my last one, and I hope you can learn a thing or two from it. My goodness, just looking at my kayak, it looks so much better than my last one. Anyways, let's get to it. Okay, so the front of the kayak is almost identical to my last video where I had my old kayak and it was pretty much the same thing, except I had the fish finder here and I had a GoPro mount here, but now I use this kind of style of a GoPro mount where you have the toilet bolt here, which will slide into the rail. Oh, and then you just tighten it down and then you just face it towards you once it's tight, and then you have a perfect mount there for your GoPro, and it's more out of the way. Other than that, pretty much everything at the front's identical. I did add this to aid myself when I wanted to stand the rare occasion, because honestly, I don't care what anybody says, especially if you add all this stuff to the boat. It's not that easy to stand and fish off of this. It's still what's the word I'm looking for? Not flimsy, but tippy. That's the word, tippy. It's still very tippy. All this is exactly the same. Unlock that. Fish finder transducer goes under this hatch, so it's more under me, and then I have the 12 volt in there. Just normal storage. I usually keep a scale in there, a tape in there, some other stuff, but pretty much exactly the same there. The back is where it gets interesting. Before we go there, this is one of my favorite mods I did on this kayak. I actually raised the seat. I used angle aluminum here. I used, I think these are the self-tapping screws in here, and then I epoxied it on the bottom, so it's really I can literally lift the kayak up via this and this. And yeah, as you can see here, there's tons of room underneath the seat now. So before on my old kayak, all I can store there is my life jacket. Now I can throw my life jacket behind my seat, and I can put tackle underneath my seat too. See, you guys can see that? I need to cut these down though. I will be cutting those down. And then here, this is just standard. I'm just keeping like I said, a bogas there with some pliers, just so they're always by me at all times. I did add these in, one on this side, one on the other side. It does get handy, especially when I'm moving my kayak around on my car. And then of course, we have this beautiful monstrosity. I saw this was a tutorial on YouTube from this guy here, and that's the second one I've already brought up in what, like 2 minutes? YouTube is a fantastic resource, especially for mods on this kayak, because this kayak is under $1,000 and you don't feel as bad drilling holes all over it than you would if you had like a Hobie Angler 14-foot one, you know what I mean? Like this is a good kayak, especially for beginners and especially to do mods on. But anyways, this is the rod holder I have. You can hold 4 rods on. I usually just do 3 in my net. In hindsight, I would have used different size tubing because this was a pain. It was such a pain to find this one. I don't know if you can see, but I have like the 90-degree bracket, the size of the tubing I want, and then I had to do an adapter to this, an adapter to the tubing, adapter, etc. It added up in price. It was just, I don't think I would do that again. I would use a different size tubing and do it that way. So all it is 1.25 inch pipe here, about 9 inches to a 45-degree angle to a 45-degree angle, and then in between you have the tubing obviously, and then to a 90-degree angle one, and the tubing throughout, and get these T brackets for the rods so they can actually go all the way through, and then you do that 4 times. Same thing on the other side, and bada boom, bada bing, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. And then this is awesome. If you have an Ascend FS12T, if you have this kayak, get this box. This is the tote that Plano makes. I'm not 100% sure. I'll throw it in the description of the video. But this literally fits perfectly. When I ordered this off Amazon, I was so happy of how well it fit in this kayak. I was worried it was gonna hit this. I was worried how it was gonna maybe too wide for here and for here, but it tapers a little bit inward. So it's honestly a perfect box for this kayak. This was a big thing for me though. I totally redid all of this. In my last video, I had that massive portion of the trolling motor right there, and it was great. It was a good armrest, and honestly, there's no regrets making it that way, but I was very intimidated to take apart this piece. I actually have it here. I was intimidated to take this portion apart and then get inside of it and rewire everything, because I was a little intimidated by that, because there was these like 3 circuit boxes that controlled the speed, and you couldn't take that apart. So no matter what, you had to have it. And that brings me to this. This right here is kind of like the brain, it is the brains of the entire thing. I added this, I just got it off Amazon. It's just a capacity and voltage meter. So here, when I'm, this device, this thing, when I press this button before, it would show me on a level of 1 to 4 how much battery I had left. And that was a big reason as to why I kept this, so I can see when I'm on the water how much I had left. But this was like, I don't know, this is maybe 20 bucks, maybe, probably like more like 12 to 15. And what this does is that if I go through it, it'll tell me I'm at 100% battery, and if I get, I'm at 12.7 volts, so I know my battery's healthy. My old battery, the one that was on my old kayak, that thing was at like literally 8 volts because I didn't store it properly and I had to redo the whole thing. So it shows you if your battery's healthy or not. But on the inside, that's where the magic happens. All right, here we go. So this thing used to be inside this. And what my buddy Nick and I did, we literally cut it down. We cut the metal as much as we could off of it to make it as slim as possible. And I put it inside this, I guess, water resistant Tupperware container. And you have this potentiometer here, and that blue thing, that is what, when this turns, it indicates how fast it's going. That's like literally turning the big handle of the trolling motor back and forth. That's what indicates how fast you're going, what direction you're going, etc. Now, I had to keep the whole thing to make sure that was intact for the speed. Now, the wires in here are a whole different story, because before we had that big trolling motor console that sat right here, and then the wires from that went right from here, and they went all along the back to the motor, and the other ones for the battery, they didn't even go in the boat, they just went right there. But I wanted everything to be in the boat, I wanted everything to be slim profile. So what I did was, from here, I drilled a hole on this side of the kayak. I ran the battery wires and the motor wires inside the kayak through here, and then they would come out that flange. So the white one's for the motor, and the red and black one is for the battery. And they go into this Plano box. Now here, this is where it gets really cool, because this is essentially a massive like junction box where everything meets. And on the inside here, let's take this off quickly. Doesn't look too fancy, but the wires come through here, they go into this. The motor wire right here runs along the back and goes to this outlet here, which again attaches to the motor. So here, now if I want to, I can take this motor completely off, just like I could with the last one, but this box can come off too, and the only thing that remains is that male plug, versus before, I had here a flange that came out and all this wire. So that, we'd eliminated that. And the other wire that goes in here, this is a little bit overkill because there's a grounding wire in this too, but we cut that out, we didn't need it, and then we just run to the battery. So literally, you have the battery thing, the battery wire in here, hooking up to the battery, and then you have the motor one in here, hooking up to the motor. So everything runs based off of this box. So once I take this out, literally the only thing that remains is the transom mount and those male plugs, that's it. Now, what we did differently with the trolling motor was, before I had it way too high, it was like this high, and it just didn't look good, as this YouTube user pointed out so nicely. Although his comment is stupid, wrong, and dumb, he is absolutely right. It didn't look good. I had this big mess of wood here for the hinge. It just overcomplicated things. All I needed to do was a transom mount. So I got the steel bracket here. I got these crazy intense anchors that go inside that really hold on to it. This isn't going anywhere. This transom mount isn't going anywhere. Like, I've hit ground, I think 2 or 3 times now, full tilt, and obviously it's not gone. But yeah, steel brackets, just a piece of wood. Put some spray paint on it. And if I wanted to go overkill, I'd epoxy it and put resin on it so water couldn't get in it. But it's just silly, it's overkill. But the same thing before I wanted to have that hinge so I can access the handle. I don't know why I did such a complicated thing. I can just access the handle with a normal transom mount. But yeah, shaved it right down to make it as slim as possible, as low profile as possible. I thought I made quite a big mistake because I cut it too short, and it ended up working perfectly, as you can see here. Literally, like, this is the perfect level it should be, and at this point, this is just under the surface of the water. At times, if I'm leaning a little bit too much forward, this will come out of the water, but the way the boat's balanced, it's the perfect height it should be. And this is just a happy accident because I cut it thinking it'd be like this. And obviously that's way too close to the boat, like it bangs right into it. But then when I was all upset and miserable, I realized that if I put it back one setting on this, it sits perfectly. So it was a happy accident, and thankfully it worked out. And I have here the same concept of steering as my last one, is I have actually, instead of metal wire, because that was just a little bit, I don't know, not overkill, but it was just silly to use metal. I used a weed whacker line, and I use these guided eyelets to guide it all along this side of the boat and the other side, obviously, and then it takes a sharp turn here and goes right to the pedals, where I just drilled a small hole here and then crimped it. And it's a very simple process to steer, and it works fantastic. But yeah, I don't think there's much else to talk about on like the Generation 2.0. This is a big thing because this is the Endura Max. It wasn't easy to add the control knob, and all I did, look at this. All I did was I added, like, this is from like what you see in you know what, actually, let's go take a look. I'm willing to bet it's on my hose. It is. Almost the exact same one is on my hose. That's the one I used, very similar, just I think mine was red versus blue, and I used that here, and I just mounted it to where the handle that would go here, I mounted it to that so it would control it fine. And then when I'm in the kayak, this thing is right under my seat. All I have to do is just move this, and then I move the other way and reverse. So I still have the reverse, all the speeds I need, and everything is perfect right here now. So low profile, it's much lighter, and that was a big thing too. I didn't want as much weight. And no matter what, when you have a 60-pound marine battery and you add a trolling motor and rod, blah, 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 you're gonna add weight to the kayak. And at times it's gonna be difficult to have all that weight in the back of your boat and make sure that you're gonna still stay afloat and blah, blah, blah. When the waves are rough and water's getting on board here, I have a really hard time because I epoxied shut all the scupper plugs, because the weight of the boat now with this in it, etc., it sits lower in the water. So you'd have like an inch, 2 inches of water in the back of the boat and right under you if I didn't epoxy those shut. Well, the downside of that is that once water gets on the boat, it doesn't have anywhere to go unless I manually move it from the boat, and then you start going a lot slower, and it gets very intimidating if you're far from shore and you have all this water on board. When I get going, I think I can get to 4.7. Honestly, I'm pretty sure it's kilometers an hour. I'm pretty sure I can get to 4.7 kilometers an hour when I'm on full tilt on this thing. The biggest thing for me is that I can do a whole shoreline non-stop and just steering with my feet and not having to touch the trolling motor whatsoever. And it's super handy, especially if I'm like just trying to get like my casts out and not focus on one area. I'm just doing the whole shoreline with one bait. It's awesome. But no, this thing turned out amazing. I've already had a fantastic year using this model. Not that I didn't have a great year using my last kayak, but it just, the low profile system I have here and not having that big system right here takes so much weight off. And when I'm moving it from onto my car by myself, it's a lot lighter, and it's really handy. And this, like, I love this. Like, thank God for my friend Nick, who is an electrician, or was an electrician. He does some fancy job now, but I wouldn't have been able to do any of this without him. And I think it's so cool because not only is this like I said, the junction box, but also it's of course the storage too, where I keep my emergency kit, and I honestly throw tackle in there. I could throw a lunch in there if I want to. I don't really eat that often when I'm fishing, but I could. That's just, I have the potential to do that. And this is all weatherproof too. I have all this, like if it starts pouring rain, this is a weatherproof cover, so the rain's gonna go here, and this lip will cause it to drip, but it won't go inside that. And then it's the same with that one. It's not, you know, I mean, it's not 100%. Like if I'm going in Hurricane Katrina or something like that, obviously it's gonna get wet, but I won't be fishing in any weather like that with these lightning rods sticking off my kayak like that. But it turned out fantastic. If you guys have any questions, please leave a comment in the comment section below. If you're coming here from the last trolling motor video, let me know what you think about this one. I think this one's 10 times better than my last one. And yeah, honestly, let me know what you think. And you know what? Let's turn around, talk to me now. You guys come in here, you look at my video, and then you just leave. Press that subscribe button. I post not often at all, and that content I post is mediocre at best. But I'm not gonna lie, I get super excited every time I got a new subscriber. Okay, peace.